There we are. That title sequence. There we are. Are we here? Can you hear me? Something very strange was going on, but I think you can hear me. Let me know in the chat if you can see me. I know we're live streaming at a very strange time this week, but I'm not able to make the stream on this Friday. So I always want to make my commitment to being here every single week. And so I'm here on a Tuesday at 12 p.m. right at lunchtime. So if I'm catching you on your lunch break, let me know where you're tuning in from in the chat. Let me pull up the Instagram chat to make sure that's working, because for some strange reason, the live chat wanted to be all strange. All right, what's up, Durcell? We can hear you. Awesome. Glad to hear it. Okay, so what I wanted to chat about today, something pretty juicy, actually. Okay, I wanted to talk a little bit about things that brands don't want you to know as a creator, because I think there are a lot of things that kind of go on behind the scenes. I actually got an email from one of folk on my email list. I had a video that I made, an interview that I did with Jenny Heinrich, who is an ad agency vet. And we was like an interview, and I was talking to her about like, what do ad agencies actually look like when they're like recruiting influencers for a paid campaign? And so there was a lot of gems in there, but there are so many things that happen behind the scenes that I think a lot of creators don't know about. And having that perspective is absolutely critical when you're coming into these negotiations, because if you don't know like what's going on the other side of them, this is like 101 when it comes to negotiations, right? It's like understanding where the other party is coming from, and how you can basically negotiate an advantageous deal for all parties, right? Because that's the goal. You want to walk away from a negotiation where both parties feel like they've won, right? And you can absolutely do that with when you're working with brands. What's up, Jan Pies, Nina, the resident wife? Thanks so much for joining. So if you have any questions about brand deals or negotiations or anything, drop it in the chat. Happy to help. Okay, so we're going to talk about the seven shocking secrets that brands don't want you to know. Working title. Okay, so number one is that a lot of brands are hoping that you're not savvy, right? And that you don't understand things like media usage or exclusivity or licensing or things like that, right? Or really understand the difference between how much work it takes to make a photo versus a video, or a photo carousel versus a reel, right? Because those are different levels of work. So they're kind of banking on the fact that you're so excited about this partnership that all of your logic kind of goes out the window, and you agree to do things for either a very little amount, or you're agreeing to do things for free that take a lot of work. And so they're just kind of relying. I'm not saying that all brands are like this, but a lot of shady brands are, and you really do need to protect yourself and get smarter, right? And so I think a lot of creators invest in things like camera gear and lenses and new phones and laptops and editing software and all that stuff, right? But if you're not investing in your knowledge, you are going to, number one, leave money on the table, right? And you're also going to potentially limit your future possibilities. For example, if you like agree to, let's say, exclusivity on something for 3 years, right? And you're not being compensated adequately for something like that. Some shady brands will try to sneak things like that into the contract, right? And so you definitely, again, I'm not saying that all brands are like this, but I definitely have seen contracts, and we've had experiences in the past where brands have tried to do those things, and you absolutely have to look out for yourself, and you have to protect yourself as a creator, especially when you're coming up and you don't really necessarily know any better, right? And so I also want to mention, definitely check out my course, Brand Deal Wizard, because we go into this in extreme detail. So if you think that investing in like camera equipment and gear and equipment and all that stuff is justifiable, then you should be investing in your knowledge as well. And that's exactly the whole point of Brand Deal Wizard, where you can 2, 3, 4, 5x your income from brand partnerships from what you're currently making. I actually recently started asking some of my alumni from the course how much money, actually how much money they've made as a result of going through the program. I had a creator yesterday who said they've made $35,000 as a result of the program. Another student said she made $6,547. So she went back, she was like very specific about it. So, right. So it's a relatively modest investment for the skills and expertise that you're going to take on to the rest of your creator career. So highly encourage you to check it out. Just go to branddealwizard.com. Enrollment opens on September 16th. So definitely come and hang out with us all in there. It's going to be a blast. Okay, so the second thing that brands don't want you to know is, oh, what's up, Devin Musso? Thanks for joining. Miss Stacy Liz, thanks for tuning in. Who else we got? Diana Wilson. What's going on? This is a different time. Love it. Yes, Diana, we're kind of pulling an audible this week. I'm not able to make the normal Friday live stream time, so we're doing it live. We're doing it right now. Okay, so the second thing that brands do not want you to know is that they are evaluating your social media platforms before they even contact you. Okay. Right. So I think a lot of creators think that when a brand, let's say a brand reaches out to them, they email them, they DM them, whatever. That's your chance to like basically be like, ha ha ha, hire me. You know, I'm an amazing creator. You should work with me. Look at all these great brands I've worked with in the past. Here's my media kit. Here's my packages. Here's my rates. Right. You kind of show all your wares as a creator. But that point where they actually do the outreach is quite like they've already gone down the rabbit hole, looking at your social media platforms, looking at your Instagram, looking at your TikTok, looking at your YouTube, looking at your blog if you have one, right? Looking at your Pinterest, looking at all your holistic social media persona, because they want to make sure that, number one, you're a great fit for the campaign. That's absolutely critical, that you even would qualify, right? And also that you would align with the brand's mission and values, right? They cannot be, there's like a risk for brands to partner with creators where there could be blowback, right? Where, you never want to get into a scenario where you work with a creator and then like a bunch of people come like, oh, how could you work with that creator? They did this, this, and this, or they don't even use your product, or like this stuff happens, right? So it's like a non-trivial risk as a brand that you absolutely need to find partners that are a good fit, right? So there's so much that's being done behind the scenes to basically vet all that out before they even contact you, because they don't want to waste their time. They don't want to reach out to you only to like, why would they do that? And then they all of a sudden realize, wow, I reached out to this person and I'm not going to tell them that I can't work with them, but I can't work with them because I found out this thing, or I found this post when I started digging deeper that, oh, this is really a little too risque for our brand image, like can't be aligning with them. Because what happens, oftentimes, right? Well, actually, we'll get into that in the next point, but I want you to understand. I actually did a workshop on this, a live workshop on this, maybe a few months ago. And we talked in detail about this particular thing because I think a lot of creators don't think about how your platform is now your resume, essentially, right? Because the moment that a brand decides that, oh, this person might be a good fit for the campaign, they essentially will go down this rabbit hole, right? They'll look at your posts, they'll look at how you're talking about yourself in your bio. They're trying to get a feel for like, okay, the types of content that they're posting. Could we envision this being reposted on our platform? Because, actually, let's get into number 3, which is one of the things that brands don't tell you. A lot of times they don't even care how many followers you have, right? Or what your engagement rate is, right? They just want to get great content that they can repurpose. So this is what I was mentioning, is that they may not even maybe posting about it on your platform is like a part of the campaign, but one of the main goals that they have is actually turning them around and repurposing it, whether just reposting on their social platforms or maybe for paid advertising, right? So that's like a very big asset that you could be providing to a brand that you may not even realize is something that's really really critical that you should be charging for. Right. So I think the main recommendation here is that rather than fixating on your follower growth all the time, how can you up the quality of your content? Right. And I would actually suggest that upping the quality of your content will also help with your follower growth as well. Right. So, but all of a sudden you're now a super attractive fit for the brand because, wow, we can just pay this influencer to make content and we can repost it, right? Instead of hiring our agency or hiring the production company, boom, let's do it. Right. So I think a lot of up and coming creators, especially like a lot of smaller creators, get into this mindset where it's just like, oh my gosh, I don't have enough followers to work with brands or things like it's just absolute nonsense. Right. I'm going to make a video. You know what? I'm going to make a video how to get brand deals with 0 followers. Right. That's super clickbait, but truly that is the spirit of this line of thinking. Right. Which is that you are only limited by yourself. Right. Let the other party that you're trying to convince to work with you say no. Don't say no to yourself. right? Which I think is absolutely critical. Hey, Shelly, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. Keto Twins. Thanks for tuning in, Sarah. Okay, so those of you who are just turning in now, we were talking. Hey, what's up, Arena? Thanks for joining in the IG chat. So for those of you who are just joining, I know this is a new time. Thank you so much. We're doing this just for this week because Friday wasn't going to work for me. Oh yeah, Diana says I get stage fright when it comes to negotiation. I want to pull that thread a little bit more, Diana. Tell me a little bit more detail. What is it that gives you stage fright? What are the things that you are concerned are going to happen that you don't know about? I'm curious. I'd like to pull that thread because I think I hear that a lot, which is just like, it's about the confidence. It's about the fear of them asking something that you don't know. And so let me know in more detail. Okay. The fourth thing that brands don't want you to know, okay, is that if you don't respond quickly, it's not going to be worth the trouble to hire you, right? This is a big problem for a lot of creators, I think. Look, a lot of creators get into the mode where they are in it for the love of the craft, right? They got into creating content. They love cooking and showing their food and doing recipes, or they love showcasing their travels. And so they're a travel influencer, right? So it's for the love of the craft, right? But all this business stuff, they know keeps the lights on. It's a good income. You know, some brands are willing to pay a lot of money, right? For you to collaborate with them, right? So there is income. So it's worth it to pursue it, but there's just a lot of fear associated with that, right? And so sometimes that can lead to a delay, like just not a lot of timeliness in how you're, how well and how quickly you're responding to brands, because it's just like a secondary consideration for you. And if that's the attitude that you have about partnering with brands, I'm going to tell you right now, you're not going to make a lot of money work with brands, okay? Because you have to understand this is a business transaction. They're coming to you with a proposal. They're saying, hey, we want to hire you to do XYZ. And when you respond, that is, entering into a business negotiation, right? So this is, it's not just like, oh, I'm going to post about it whenever I want, or I'm going to respond to this email in 4 days, or it's like, no, that's not going to cut it, because let me explain to you what happens. Most of the time when brands are working with creators, they're working with multiple creators, not just you, right? The majority of the time. They may be working with 10 creators, 25 creators, 50 creators, 100 creators, if you can believe it or not, right? So they may be working with a lot of creators. And so if you are the one who it takes them, let's talk about just the first email, right? If it takes you 4 to 5 days to respond to their initial inquiry about a brand partnership, what does that tell the brand? That tells the brand that, wow, if I actually hired this influencer, it's going to take 4 to 5 days for them to get back to me every single time. And that's just simply not going to cut it, right? There is a lot of back and forth that happen when you do brand partnerships, right? You have to send in your concepts right before you shoot for them to review and be like, yeah, this sounds good. I like this direction, right? Then you shoot it. Then you deliver maybe you have some questions, right? Or they have some clarifications like, hey, like actually do this, not this, right? Then you send the draft content for review, right? And then they have to like send you some copy back and feedback and all this stuff, right? I'm grossly simplifying it, but like there's going to be back and forth. I should just estimate like on a normal negotiation, I have had multiple email threads that have gone over 100 on Gmail where it like creates a new thread. Have you ever had that where you have a Gmail thread where it's like there's 100 messages in the thread, so it like all of a sudden rolls over to a new thread because there's 100 messages? I've had multiple deals that my wife and I have done. These have been longer term deals where there have been like multiple posts in there, but like sometimes you have to, there's 100 back and forths going on, right? So imagine 4 to 5 days every single time. Let's say half of those emails are yours. 4 to 5 days every single time. Can you imagine that? Now, can you imagine as a brand or an agency, would you want to deal with that? No. So at the very least, don't immediately eliminate yourself in the running for a deal by responding late or just responding very delinquently for every single time that you're interacting with a brand. So that's something that they don't want you to know, is that they may ultimately say like, hey, we decided not to move forward with you. But the reason that they're not going to tell you is that you were too slow. Okay. So if you are a creator and you know that that's not a strength of yours, that's okay. I'm not trying to blame you. I'm not trying to point fingers. I know, especially being a solo creator, it's hard to do everything, right? You're creating the content. You're the social media manager. You're the distribution person. You're the marketing person, right? You're doing everything, right? So if you know that that's not a strength of yours, then you should try to potentially delegate that. Hire a VA, a part-time VA for, 5 hours a week or whatever to help you manage and triage your inbox, something like that, right? If you know that, working with, the income that you can make from brands, like here's the thing. Brand deals is the quickest way to make money as a small creator. Not getting monetized on YouTube, not affiliate links, not merchandise, potentially monetizing your followers, but that's a whole, with coaching and stuff like that, that's a whole, other can of worms. But brand partnerships, at least if you're in a content vertical that is, I guess, family friendly, right? Where there's brands who are wanting to partner with creators. That is the quickest path to money. Okay. Guaranteed. Okay. Because like we were just talking about, it doesn't matter how many followers you have, you can get brand deals. Okay. And so like, if you want to make money, if you want to make income from brand deals, you have to take this seriously, is all I'm saying, right? So if you take anything away from this point, it's that consider your DMs, treat your inbox with a little bit more respect and watch your brand deal income grow. Okay. That's all I'm going to say. Diana in the chat here. Oh, real quick, to pull on this thread here. Melissa's in the chat. Thank you so much. Oh, she said same, Diana, but you can do it. I agree, Justin. You got to lose the fear. I've been so guilty of this. I freak out, man, but I got to do this. Yes, absolutely, Melissa. And Diana explained a little bit more. She said that I feel fine with the price, but they see that I've already done a lot of tutorials on my YouTube that were not sponsors. They have brought that up, and then I choke. I keep getting offered the same amount, the same affiliate amount that everyone else can get just by signing up. No restrictions or extra work. This is a great question. Let's talk about this. Okay, so when brands are saying like, hey, can't you just make a review? We don't have to pay you. Like, you're already doing reviews for these other things. Like, clearly that wasn't paid. Like, why can't you just do that, right? Okay, so Diana, immediately what you should do in this situation is we got to work on this, together to try to understand where, how the proposals that you can put together, the counter proposals that you can put together when you're talking with these brands has nothing to do with price. And it all has to do with value, okay? When you get into the trap where you are negotiating on price, you have lost. Okay. You have all of a sudden illustrated to the brand that, yes, you can negotiate with me on price. And that's my only negotiating lever, right? That's the only thing that I have to combat these like things that you're saying, right? You're saying, oh yeah, you've made these tutorials for free, all this stuff, right? So if you get into a price, like all you're going to do is erode your value as a creator and erode your rate. Right. And so what you need to do is you come back to them and say like, oh, thanks for noticing. Yeah, I have built up a very intimate audience. I'm just doing this off the top of my head, by the way, Diana. Thank you for noticing. I built up this. I built up this very intimate audience with my followers over the years. They trust what I tell them when it comes to creating courses, right? Because I know you're an online course resource, right? And so they've been following me. They're on their course creation journey. And yes, this is what I talk about. But here's what you get when you partner with me, okay? It's not just a review. Right? It is a deep dive analysis and a asset that you could even potentially repurpose on your website, on your platform, in your knowledge base on your website when people are asking questions about things, right? You could say to them, hey, what are the top 10 things that your users of your service or your software ask? That's very interesting. Why don't I create a video answering those 10 things? Right. And you can then include that on your knowledge base. Don't you think that would reduce the amount of tickets and the amount of support requests that your folks are getting for your software? Right. There's an idea out of left field that they may not have ever considered. Right. So rather than it being purely a review, which you can still do, like, what are some other ways in which you can provide value to them? It's hard to put a price on that for them. Right. When they see all of a sudden that like, wow, this content has a lot of value for us beyond just the organic distribution that Diana's going to get on her page, right? A lot of creators like think to themselves, like, the only value that I have is putting this content on my YouTube channel or posting this on my Instagram or posting this on my TikTok or on my blog or whatever, right? No, you are a consultant. You are someone who comes in as a creator and you say, hey, like, I can think a lot more analytically about how I can help you, because the strength that you have as a content creator is creating content. It's not just about your following. It's about understanding the social media platforms. It's about understanding what type of content works on which platform. You're not going to take a 10-minute YouTube video and put it on, IG, or put it on Pinterest or put it on TikTok or whatever. No, it's different formats. It's different tones. It's different audiences. It's different demographics, right? You bring that expertise into the discussion with the brand, and all of a sudden, right, now you're thinking, wow, the brand is thinking, wow, Diana brings a lot more to the table than just another, creator with 5,000 followers or another creator with 10,000 followers or whatever, right? Right? It's not just about that. The moment that you begin negotiate, the moment that you your only negotiating leverage is price, you've lost. And that's what I teach in my course. It's not about price. Price is a lever, right? But it's all the things that you're going to provide the brand. That is what the deal is about. It's not about price. And by the way, it's not called price. It's about the investment, right? The investment to work with me is going to be $2,000 because an investment implies that they're going to get something in return, just like any other investment, right? Yeah, Melissa said, absolutely agree completely. And by the way, Oliver, what's up, Oliver? He said, hashtag Justin rants. Does this feel like a rant? I'm sorry. I get very passionate about this kind of thing. And Oliver said, yeah, Justin is 100% correct here. Being professional with brand is a massive benefit. I've been working with a brand for a few years now, and they've been so happy with the professionality and the level of the work that I've done for them that they just offered me a new deal. Instead of doing video integrations on my own channel, I will start creating content as their in-house YouTuber. Boom! Congratulations, Oliver. That's awesome. I didn't know that. That's super, super exciting. Okay, so look what can happen. You know, Dee, who's often in the chat, had the same exact thing happen that you did, Oliver, where she started, she proposed something to a brand. They loved it so much that she's now their in-house content creator for their stuff. So, working with brands can turn into, right? So those of you who are on the chat all the time, I'm not just saying this stuff. Like, you are seeing evidence. Oliver, D, there's so many people that have been following my content, have been doing it, putting the work in, that have taken part of my courses and things like that they are getting results. Like, I'm not just making this stuff up, right? These are self-admitted results that these people are telling you. I mean, come on, $35,000 in brand deals. Jessica Rose, she's like one of my star students. She's absolutely killing it. Right? So when you understand how to position yourself as a creator and the value that you're going to bring to them, you can't lose. You can't lose. Okay, so that was number 4. The fourth shocking secret that brands don't want you to know. Let's talk about number 5. This one might be surprising to some of you. Brands and agencies will sometimes pay influencers in the same campaign with the same number of followers, double or triple what they're paying you, because they need to check boxes. Let me explain. For example, if it's a toy brand and they're running an influencer campaign, and let's say the toy is rated for kids between the ages of 6 and 12, okay? They're going to be partnering with, let's say, 15 influencers, okay? They are going to need a well-rounded, diverse set of influencers to work on that campaign. For example, they're going to want some influencers with younger kids on the younger end, end of the spectrum, the 6-year-olds, right? The 6, 7-year-olds. They're also going to need some influencers with 11 or 12-year-olds, right? Because especially if one of the goals of the campaign is repurposing the content on their Instagram or on their TikTok or on their YouTube or on their website, they need a good, diverse representation of creators and content to showcase, right? So they're going to need a broad array of folks to partner with. And if they're having a really hard time finding influencers with older kids, for example, they may have to pay you double or triple because you just checked that box, right? So what can you take away from this as a creator? I think that the takeaway is treat every deal as if the brand can't afford to walk away from you. Does that make sense? Treat every deal, I'm going to say that again, treat every deal as if the brand can't afford to walk away from you, okay? That's a different level of confidence that you take to a brand deal negotiation, right? Right? Instead of coming to it and be like, well, I usually charge $1,000, but I really want to make this work so I can do 500. Have you ever done that? Have you ever done that? It's okay. This is a judgment-free zone, but if you've ever done that, don't do that anymore. You give the brand your rate and then you shut up. Right? That's my favorite little saying, right? Okay? So when you but by contrast, if you come into the deal and you're just like, hey, you know what? You need me more than I need you. You come into you don't want to be rude about it. You don't want to be egotistical or anything like that, but you want to come into it with like this attitude that like, hey, like I'm going to bring you so much value. And if you don't see that I'm going to bring you so much value, then we're probably not, it's not a good fit. Right? Right? What happens in your own life when you're met with, Diana says, that is me about the negotiating against yourself. Like I usually charge 1,000, but I can do it for 500. Yeah. See Diana? See, don't do that. See, it's a good thing you're on this live. Now you know not to do that. What's up, Risha? Risha, thanks for joining. Tina, grow things. Sweet Mel, yeah. Melissa, she took my course. She said, no, man, you're the real deal. Listen to Justin, people. Thank you, Melissa. I appreciate that. Okay, yeah. So when you come into it, so what I was gonna say was that think about your own behavior when you're out there purchasing product. I'm getting so passionate that my hair is starting to fall down, guys. Look at that. Like this, I always have my hair fall down on this side, but I was going crazy and my hair is going down. Okay. So when you look at a product, right, and there is some sort of exclusivity to it, right, where it's just only, a certain amount of people can get this offer or get this product or participate in this workshop or participate in this course. You all of a sudden wow, it's FOMO. It's wow, what's so good about this thing? I need to participate in this. Why can't I join it? Right. I want to do it. Right. It's the same idea in any negotiation where you come into it, right, where you are in demand. You're a creator in demand. You are so good that this brand would be lucky to work with you, which is true. It's true. They are lucky to work with you. And you need to look at yourself in the mirror when there's no one around and it's quiet and it's late at night and you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you tell yourself, I am worth it. That's what you need. That's how strongly you need to believe that you earn this. Oliver said, just watch your blood pressure. Yeah, Oliver said, saying no is super hard in the beginning, but you will do a massive favor for yourself by taking the hit. Exactly. Girlfriend getaway guide, thanks for joining. So it's absolutely critical. If you can just switch this mindset where when you come into these negotiations with brands, that they are going to be lucky to work with you, right? And the product that you're going to be delivering to them in return for this collaboration is going to be amazing and you believe it, then your price shouldn't be an issue. It's no longer about the price. Okay. The sixth thing that brands don't want you to know, right, is that, and this is a really important one, I think, which is that your brand contact, the person that you're interacting with, likely has a boss that they're reporting to. Okay. So if you're being difficult about reasonable requests that they're making, like a simple edit or something that won't even take you that long, right? You are making their life extremely miserable. They're going to have to go to their boss and explain why this project is taking so long. And guess what? Their boss now blames them because they were the person that chose to work with you. They were the person who chose to hire this influencer that's being difficult. That sucks, right? But understanding this, it's coming from a place of empathy and being a good person and understanding that, wow, I never thought of it that way. I don't want to put this person in that type of situation. So keep some perspective, right? How can you make your brand contact win? Right? Rather than being the problem, right? How can you be part of the solution? Right? Because you better believe that they're going to remember that you helped them out in a pinch. Right? This is absolutely important to understand it. Okay. I want to also say something, which is that, yes, there are some times when brands are super unreasonable and they're being very rude and all this stuff. That's what I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about brands who are, honestly, they're being pretty reasonable, right? They're paying you $500. They're paying you $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, whatever. This is a business transaction and they're asking something very, relatively simple for you in return. Hey, can you trim out these 3 seconds? Cause we're just not loving the way that is coming off or the way that the product is being held or something like that. It's not a big deal. Right? It's not a huge deal. Just make the edit. Even if you're past the rounds of revisions, if you can make your brand contact win. Right? And going along with this point, number 7. Okay, while I'm doing number 7, leave some questions in the chat if you have any other questions about this. But the number 7, the seventh thing, the seventh shocking secret that brands don't want you to know is that brands will give repeat business to influencers that they like and who treat them well, right? So this is going along with point number 6, right? Especially at agencies, okay? Your contact may be responsible for 5 to 7 different brands, all of whom are running influencer campaigns, right? Or maybe it's a brand directly. And people move around a ton in this space, right? So they're going to move into another influencer marketing role at another brand. And they're going to, when they start running campaigns at that brand, do you think they're going to remember you? Right? So treating everyone with kindness, right, should be a no-brainer in my opinion. But it's even more important when you realize that building rapport with your contacts can directly lead to more money for you. So at the very least, right, it's going to lead to more money for you. So be nice. Be kind. Hey, Blended Beauty, thanks for tuning in. Let me know in the IG chat if you have any questions as well. Patrick has a question here. Do you think that brands will get wise to the long tail of evergreen content and seek out smaller creators on the rise that they can work with for a steal? Absolutely, Patrick. So we've actually done deals like this before for my influencer marketing agency, where that was the whole point of the campaign was SEO. So there were keywords that they wanted to target. So it was actually a really cool company. It was a kids screenless smartphone called Relay. And basically it looked like, remember those like Nextel walkie-talkie, like devices. It was similar to that, but it's like for kids between the ages of 6 and 12, basically, who aren't old enough for a cell phone. But their parents still wanted to get in touch with them, like after school or like after sports practice or something like that. It's a really cool device. And so the whole point of the campaign was ranking highly for certain high value keywords that they identified for a YouTube search, right? So like screenless smartphone was one keyword, or smartphone for kids, or like keywords like this. And so that was the entire point of the campaign. Was we went out and we were very upfront with the micro creators about, or the micro influencers about it. We basically said, hey, this is what the brand is trying to accomplish. We basically told them, hey, you need to be flexible and allow the brand to give feedback on the title of your video, because the titles of videos, as you know, in YouTube play a big role in surfacing that content in search. So, they specifically wanted the keywords in the title. So like screenless smartphone, this type of thing, right? So they, the creators said, hey, yes, I'm totally cool with this. I'm comfortable with the brand providing feedback on the title and the description box and things like that, right? What do you think happened? We, as an agency, ran the campaign with 10 micro influencers, and 6 of the 10 videos were on the first page of YouTube search results for screenless smartphone, or for smartphone for kids. I can't remember which one. It was crazy, right? But that is what a strategy like that can do for a brand. So you can turn around, by the way, Patrick, and tell them, actually propose that strategy to them. You basically say to them, hey, I really love your brand. Are there certain keywords that you're trying to rank for on YouTube or Google or something like that? Because as you know, Google surfaces videos now, right? In search results, right? So you come to them and say, hey, what are some high value keywords that you'd like to rank for organically in search? And they say, oh, sounds good. I will make a video for you with targeting this one, or these 2, or these 3. Or I'll make a series. I'll make 10 videos for you targeting all 10 of these keywords. By the way, it's going to be $1,000 a video, and you can repurpose it. Whatever, right? Your following is now completely detached from the pricing that you're providing them, because it's no longer about your reach, Patrick. It's about SEO. And because, as you know, it doesn't necessarily matter how many followers you have. If the video is hyper relevant to that search terminology, it's going to show. Especially for long tail, like you said, long tail keywords. That's even more valuable. So if there's, maybe you're not going to go after keywords that are have 500,000 searches a month. But if you have a keyword that's being searched 50,000 times a month, that's a lot still, or 20,000 times a month on YouTube or something, that's high value, right? So if there's no relevant search results that for that brand, boom, that's a compelling pitch. Does that make sense, Patrick? Brands will get wise if you pitch it to them, Patrick. You don't need to wait for them to get wise. Pitch it to them. Does that help? Oliver said the amount of money that people could make just by being empathetic towards their business partners. Yeah, the easiest thing, but people still miss this because of their egos. Yeah, that's the other thing, is that, I think a lot of creators can sometimes be a little short-sighted about, I'm going to be real with you, right? The height of your popularity as a creator probably will last 2 to 3 years on average, right? I'm just being totally real with you, right? If you are at the height of your influence and your impressions and your impact that your content has, on average, it's going to be 2 to 3 years before you start to see that wane. just going to be completely honest, right? But and by the way, I should probably remind you that the height of my wife and my influence and our viewership and things like that was probably 3-4 years ago when our kids were really young, because that's what most people were really interested in, was the pregnancy journey and the early part of the life, infant, phase and things like that too. We, hundreds of thousands of views on our videos, every video, right? And now it's not that. And we're making more money than we've ever made by far. Right. So that's a whole other discussion about how to really extract the most value and the most income out of the influence that you do have. Right. Because it's not all about your viewership. Right. Making money on YouTube views is just one very small way to make money. There's so many other ways to make money as a creator. Right. And so, Patrick said, I own #1 in make gaming TikToks. That's amazing, Patrick. That's truly amazing. By the way, you should be creating your own case studies, and you're going to be completely in your own lane now, Patrick, where the proposals that you come to a brand with is that you say, hey, I'm going to propose this. Oh, by the way, I own the #1 search results in make gaming TikToks. If you focus your strategy on a SEO strategy, Patrick, and then you come to them and be like, hey, these are all the keywords that I own in YouTube search. I understand how the YouTube algorithm works. Do you think that you're now you're going to sound anything like those other creators that are trying to pitch that brand? No, you are in your own category now. You are completely orthogonal to all other creators now. You are in your own blue ocean, right? Let all these other creators fight over I would love to collaborate. Are there any partnership opportunities? That's what 99% of creators are doing. So when you can craft a proposal that is so different than what anyone else is saying, you are immediately in your own category and you can name your price. Because it's no longer about the price. It's no longer about your organic distribution. It's about the value exchange. I'm reading this book right now. I talked a little bit about it last stream, but it's really good. I'm almost halfway through it now. It's called $100 Million Offers. Make offers so good or so compelling that people feel stupid saying no. You come into it with that exact mentality. I think is absolutely critical. What's up, Falco family? What's up? Brian from the Falco family took my Brand Deal Wizard course. So he's another proud alumni. So thanks for tuning in, Brian. He said, what's up, Justin? You have explained the reasons for a brand campaign as repurposing content, brand awareness, and conversion. In your experience, is there one that's more commonly the goal than others? So that's a great question, Brian. Okay, so this is what I would say. I would say it's not that there's one that's more common than others. I would say that conversion-focused campaigns are growing in prominence because whereas in the beginning, brand awareness was really it was hard to measure the impact of influencer marketing campaigns, right? Because you would hire an influencer to make a post about you, and then what is the results? It's they got these many impressions, or if it was a YouTube video, they got this many views, right? Or this many comments on it, right? But there was no call to action, right? There was no go to my bio and click the link, right? And go visit the brand's website, right? So brands couldn't monitor increase in site traffic or something like that, right? So that was in the beginning. So brand awareness campaigns was basically essentially all brands were doing on the cutting edge 5-6 years ago. Then they, 2-3 years ago, promo codes, right? Okay, now you got Falco Family 25. That's your promo code, Brian, right? So that's the code that you're sharing to your audience so that every time someone purchases, there's now redemption. Right. And there's redemption and conversion history that you can now look to and be okay, this is valuable because they drove this many purchases and we paid them this much. So here was the ROI. Right. So what I will say is that brands are more and more keen now that influencer marketing has become basically a table stakes tactic as a marketer for brands, and the reason that it is, by the way, is that pretty much every brand now has an influencer marketing manager. At the very least, most of them have a team now, 5-10 people just doing influencer marketing, right? So that's why that it's a table stakes tactic now. So now that it is, you are seeing brands coming to you and they're being a lot more sophisticated with their pricing strategies. They're basically telling you hey, we have certain metrics that we have to hit, right? So if we're going to pay you $1,000, we need to drive 100 app downloads or something like that. So that's a very much a purely conversion focused campaign. So there definitely are more and more brands like understanding like, hey, we're not just going to throw $50,000 at an influencer campaign anymore. Like, yeah, maybe we're going to do it for like a product launch where we need like high level brand awareness, but for everyday like monthly goals that we have for like app downloads or sales or something like that, we need to be a lot more strategic without how we're tracking those types of things, right? And by the way, the reason that this is so critical is that brands are getting more, rather than doing these like one-off campaigns with creators, they are creating ambassadorships, like almost like how bloggers used to be ambassadors like 10 years ago. This is what they're essentially doing. They're basically working with a group of, let's say, 20 influencers, and then they're monitoring all the results. And then the 25% of influencers who perform, they keep working with them, and they basically stop working with the other 75%, and they go and they approach those 25% with a long-term deal. And they'll be like, hey, the first campaign went so great, we'd love to lock you in for a 1-year deal. By the way, we're going to pay you X amount of dollars monthly. And because they know that at the very least that this influencer performed. And so in all likelihood, they're going to continue to perform. And by the way, that's a strategy that brands will do, is they will actually try to lock influencers in because, oh, by the way, if these influencers are compelling, what can happen? That influencer can blow up. And they're locked into that rate that they had when they were only getting 5,000 views a video. That actually happened quite a few times where we used to do a bunch of deals through my agency for HelloFresh, for example. And we would sign year-long partnerships with the creator, and they were super excited about it, right? Because they knew they were going to get $1,000 a month or something like that. But sometimes what happened is that creator blew up and they started getting 50,000 views a video, and they were locked into like the $1,000, rate video for that year, right? So brands will definitely, so the brand was super thrilled about that because they can manage their forecasting and manage their spend and things like that too. So just be in mind, there's pros and cons to it, right? Because as a creator, you never know, like if you're going to blow up, right? So it's not, I mean, this was a deal that the creator had signed, obviously. So, but you have to understand. And so the reason that it's valuable for the creator is that you get some income predictability, right? You didn't know that you were going to blow out, right? And so like getting $1,000 a month for the next year is like, that's nice to know that income is going to come. So I don't think there's anything wrong with doing that as a creator. So just understand that there's pros and cons for doing those types of long-term deals. The brand is getting something out of it, which is like they're locking in a rate for you, whether you grow or not. And then you get some income predictability. So it's like, I think it's, you're getting both sides there. I think, there's nothing wrong with that. Hey, Miss Kaish, thanks for joining. So hopefully that helps answer your question. So it's hard to answer because I would say though also like the content repurposing thing is also growing a lot. I think as a creator, you have that as a lever of something to play up more in your pitches, because I think a lot of brands still don't understand the value of that as much. Right? Yes, they understand like regramming and reposting and things like that too. But if you can frame it in a way that like, hey, you can work with me instead of your like in-house, or like instead of this production company that you're paying, or if you know that they're outsourcing the content to someone else, like an agency or a production company or something like that, or they're out there hiring photographers or videographers, freelance people to do that, you can take that work from them. Because not only can you create compelling content that's super high quality, but you can do it for like a lot more efficiently, and you have an organic distribution, right? So whether or not, like this kind of goes back to Patrick's question about whether brands are going to wisen up to like the value of long tail, like evergreen content. You don't need to wait for the brand to understand the value of some of these other different types of campaigns. I think a lot of brands a lot of creators shy away from conversion focused campaigns because they're afraid what will happen. Right? They're afraid that a brand is going to pay them $1,000 and they don't drive any sales, or they only drive a few sales or something. And then you look like you feel like you have egg on your face because of the promises that you made. And my advice to that is you need to lean into that. Don't put your head in the sand. You need to actively elicit this type of feedback from your brand partners, because how else are you going to improve? As a creator, you need to be meticulous in understanding what went wrong. Why did you not drive those sales? You thought you were going to, and you didn't. Was it the way in which you did the pitch? Did you not do a great call to action? Did you not adequately promote it? Did you sell the product and the features and the benefits of the product versus how the product will will solve something in your audience's life. That's another thing, another issue that I just something I see with a lot of creators is that when they work with a brand, they just do this laundry list of like, oh, here's the features and the benefits, right? And they do not talk whatsoever about how this product solves a problem for their audience's lives. That's the whole point of purchasing something or investing in something as a consumer, right? Is you are looking to like achieve some sort of outcome, not to just have another hunk of junk sitting around on your desk, right? What is it about this mouse that's going to make my life easier? This scroll wheel, right? It's an infinite scroll wheel, right? And so I can scroll through pages, I can read the news 5 times faster. I'm just making something up, right? It's ergonomically, it's not going to give me carpal tunnel syndrome, right? Which is something that I have because it's ergonomic and the buttons are like on the side or something, right? It's about how it's going to change your life, not about how slick the design is. How slick the design is a part of it, but it's not what's going to ultimately make the sale. Does that make sense? So you need to be doing this type of analysis as a creator for yourself so that you can improve in the future. Right? And oh, by the way, asking for that type of data can lead to more deals. You can basically say to them, hey, like if it underperformed, you could say, oh, that's so interesting. I know that wasn't what we were hoping to accomplish. I would love to partner again. And here's some recommendations that I would make to the execution. And here's where you can basically provide some feedback to the brand about perhaps the brief was just way too scripted. And in fact, this is a great segue because the Keto Twins say sometimes the brand brief in particular or is so particular with their script, it's hard to make it convincing in my own words. Exactly. This is an opportunity for you to go back to them and say, hey, perhaps one of the reasons why it didn't perform is I would like to make some recommendations of how we could have this be more authentic, more organic, and drive more impact. Do not be afraid to say that. Because by the way, no influencer, like probably none of the other influencer partners that they've worked with have said that. Right? So I know that sometimes some brands can be really, really picky with that kind of stuff. And yeah, there may be some who aren't willing to be flexible with that, but you'd be surprised. There may be some that are. That should always be in your purview. Because by the way, as a creator, if you know that, by the way, Sarah, if you know that, wow, this probably isn't going to do well because it's going to come off like an ad, that it's in your own interest to flag that to the brand because you want that content to perform. You could basically say that, hey, look, based on my experience, having done, hundreds of YouTube videos and knowing what performs and things like that too, I think we should change. I think I should focus on just these 2 or 3 aspects of the brief because that's what my audience is going to find the most compelling. You can say that to them. Yeah, maybe they'll say no, but at least you tried. And then when the results come back and it wasn't what they hoped, you can point to that and basically be like, I kind of told you so. Don't say that, but you know what I mean? Right. And so what I was saying earlier about how you can turn that into a new deal, if the ROI isn't what they hoped it was, you can basically say to them, look, I would let's try this again. Here's what I think we should change. I really, based on the feedback that I got from my audience and the comments and things like that, it seems like they were interested in this feature more than this other thing or this, thing that it helped solve in their lives. Let's do another video, focusing on that one. Yeah. And, Keto Twin said, we were closing out on a 6-month deal with them, and I'll probably will have suggestions to the sponsorship if they come back. Well, here's another way to look at this, Sarah, is that instead of looking forward for that deal to be over, and I get it, sometimes the deals are like, ooh, I don't know if I want to do this deal anymore. Sit down and think to yourself, what would make me excited to work with this brand for another 6 months? And figure out what those terms are. You basically, do this for yourself internally. Be like, okay, they give me more creative freedom. They pay me more money. They give me more latitude, less rounds of feedback or whatever it is. I don't know what the list that you need to make this a fun deal to do again, rather than something you can't wait to get out of. And then go back to them and basically say, hey, I would love to continue our partnership. Here's how I envision the next 6 months looking. What do you think? The worst they can say is no, and then you're no worse off, right? So, yeah, just Yeah, all of those things would be great. LMAO. Yes. Okay. So I made the list for you. Let me know if there's other things. I wanted to acknowledge some folks in the IG chat. Miss Kaish said, I'm having a hard time proving my value in my pitch. I'm a small creator, and when I post ads or I work with a brand, my audience doesn't engage as much. Any tips? So it's a great question. So let me know if you're still in the chat. Let me know like what type of content, because I can't click on your profile right now, but let me know what types of content you're creating, what brands you're working with. What is it like? What is the feedback that you're getting from your brands when you're doing these pitches that is making it a hard time for you to prove your value? I'm just curious. Like we talked about, like proving your value as a smaller creator, it's very hard to get out of the mindset of like, I am my content, if that makes sense. So it's like your entire worth is derived from like the vanity metrics that you get on your post, right? So when you post it and you get engagement and it's like less, you like, your mood goes down to here. And then if you have a post that gets onto the explore page on IG, your like mood is up here, right? It's like very much a roller coaster of emotions. And I think one of the biggest challenges when proving your value as a creator is detaching that from your worth, right? Detaching that from, because you are not your, I guess, let me revise what I said earlier. It's like, you are not your, I really want to come up with like a really catchy tagline here, but it's eluding me at the moment. But I guess what I'm saying is that it's very difficult to get your to not tie your mood to your high level like vanity metrics, and that's going to impact because basically what she said at the end of the post was when I post ads or work with a brand, my audience doesn't engage as much. Any tips? Well, I mean, one of the other pieces of feedback that I might give. It kind of goes back to what we were just talking about analyzing the performance of your paid posts, going back and looking at them. Why is it that those brand deals don't do as well as your organic posts? Is it because your brand, all of your like brand deal posts are like this, right? Where it's like, right, you're like holding up the product and it's like super obvious that it's an ad. If so, perhaps a better here's a good example. This is just like another like insider, like behind the scenes thing. April and I have found over the years that holding up a product like this and smiling doesn't perform as well as having the product just like sit on the table next to us. If the brand really needs the logo in the photo like that, right? So when you're holding it up like this, it looks a lot different from when it's just kind of sitting there. Not every product you can do that, but it's like these little things that you learn over the year. We learn that over the years of like analyzing our performance. Like, hey, like why did that post perform so much better than these other ones? Let's go look at it. What was it about that? Was it the product? Was it the way in which the product was shot? Was this something that my audience just, loved so much more than the other things? Right? Yeah. And Keto Twin says, yes, very true. Hopefully we'll get better negotiating skills after your course. Yes. Can't wait to see you in the next cohort. And Janelle in the IG chat said, how long should I wait to reach out again to a brand I previously worked with for another campaign? In our last email, they said they can't wait to work with me again in the future. Well, Janelle, today? Yeah. Why would it not be today? I don't think when you submit your invoice for the past partnership, maybe you wait a couple days and then you pitch them again. Right? So I don't think there's any delay or any time. Like honestly, by the time, we've talked about this a little bit, but hey, the technical fix, I think it's the technical fix, the technical FK. Thanks for tuning in. I don't know if it's fixed. Thanks for tuning in. Like they're really like it's going to take probably a month to 2 months to do a deal, right? They contact you, you make the content, you post it a couple weeks later, blah, 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 right? But from the start to finish of them first contacting you to you posting it, sending in your insights a week or two later, whatever, your analytics, it's probably going to be a month or two, right? So by the time the deal is done, you're probably going to be entering into a new season. A new quarter, right? So if you just did a summer deal, oh, by the way, we just finished the deal, fall is around the corner. My week 4 of my course is all about nurturing brands. And so that's the entirety of the class. We focus on this specifically, which is how do you approach brands at this time when you like to get repeat business? Because I have something called the Pinot method. And it's a 5-step kind of like framework of like how to do this type of outreach to brands and when to follow up with them, how to follow up with them. What do you say? How do you get them on, hook them again after they just finished working with you? How can you use the performance of the campaign you just did with them to sell yourself for another deal, sell yourself for a longer term deal, right? So there's just a lot of things that you can do. And this is the absolute easiest way to make more money as a creator. And what 97% of creators do not do. They work with the brand once and then they never talk to them again. You are literally firing yourself from your 9 to 5 every single month when you do that as a creator. How could you ever do that, right? That makes absolutely no sense because, by the way, you do not have to prove yourself to that. Have you ever gone to a new job and you have to prove yourself all over again? Right? It's like you got this reputation as like a great worker at this last job, and then you got to go to a new job and it's like you have to start all over again. Right? You have to prove yourself, you have to win allegiances, there's office politics, there's all this stuff, right? It sucks, right? It's the same idea when you're working with brands, right? When they first reach out to you or you first pitch them, you forge a deal, right? You've already gone through it. You've already gone through the hard part. They've seen how responsive they are. They've seen how communicative you are. They saw how, the high quality content that you created. And then you end and you never talk to them again. You built up all this rapport and all of this goodwill, and then you don't do anything with it. No. You milk that for all it's worth. You come back to them and say, hey, I've loved working with you. I love creating this content. I have all these new content ideas. By the way, I noticed you're not on TikTok. Let me be your TikTok person. I'll create 5 to 10 TikToks for you a month. Whatever. I don't know what the pitch is, right? But it's like, don't fire yourself every single month. Give yourself recurring income from all this hard work that you've already put in. Right? Yeah. Janelle says, woohoo in the chat. I hope that was helpful, Janelle. Oliver in the chat said, according to some research, millennials change jobs more often than earlier generations. So I guess firing oneself every month lands under this thesis. Probably, Oliver. Probably. I'm trying to buck that trend. So if you don't want to do that, take my course and I'll teach you how to be so much less stressed out. It's not even funny. Not only will you be so much less stressed, but you'll be a lot richer too. Oh my goodness. So thank you so much to everyone for tuning in today. I know it was a different time. I know this summer has just been a little weird with vacations and obligations and things like that too, but I am making a commitment to you guys every single week. I'm going to show up if I can. If I'm not out of the country for multiple weeks, I'm going to show up and I'm going to do this live stream. I'm going to help you as the best as I can. And again, I'm, hey, what's up, Mark? Thanks for tuning in on LinkedIn. Right as I'm about to sign off, Mark. But again, thank you so much. It really does mean a lot to me. Thank you so much for tuning in on IG as well. And I will be back next week with a live stream. I'm going to have it at the normal time on next Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. And in the meantime, if I didn't get to your questions, please just DM me or email me. And by the way, keep it on your calendar. September 16th is when, let me actually just drop the, actually, you know what? Let me do it. What am I doing? I have Restream to help me with this. I'm writing a caption on the fly. Add caption. Okay, here we go, guys. Ready? Boom. Okay, branddealwizard.com. If the next cohort enrollment starts on September 16th, would love to have you in. Branddealwizard.com. You can sign up for the wait list and you'll find out for more information. So thank you so much again for tuning in. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks for tuning in. And Oliver said, this was great, Justin. More rants like this in the future. Coming right at you, Oliver. Don't you worry. Have a great rest of your week, everyone. Talk to you soon. Bye.